Hey folks, today I've got 14 things to know about the brand new Apple Watch Ultra. Now this is just a first look at things that look for a full in-depth review a little bit later on. The first thing you're going to notice is the new action button on the side right there. This allows for easier access to the watch, to controlling the watch when you're wearing gloves. And in particular, there's the ability to go ahead and customize what happens when you press that button. So it can be used, for example, for setting a lap while running. It can be used for different actions to open up a particular app. You can customize that in the watch itself. The next thing is they've increased the digital bezel size, so it's larger. Again, all that usage in the outdoors, in the elements, in rain and snow, and even underwater while scuba diving, which we'll talk about in just a second as well. Next, there's the increased battery life. It's 36 hours in that regular standby mode, up to 60 hours in a low power standby mode. And on top of that, they've also increased the battery for sport mode. In particular, there's a new lower power sport workout mode, which Apple says they can accomplish an entire Ironman triathlon, but usually up to 17 hours for an Ironman triathlon, though that is in a lower power mode, and there's not a lot of clarity on what happens in that lower power mode from a sports standpoint in terms of what those trade-offs are. Still, that's way beyond the existing Apple Watch capabilities to be able to complete a full Ironman triathlon. Most triathletes that have used the Apple Watch tend to top out around 5 or 6 hours. That's kind of as far as you can get. Next, they've increased the display size up to 49 millimeters from the existing 45 millimeter size. And with that, they've also increased the brightness up to 2000 nits. So if you're out in the outdoors doing hiking, out in the bright sun, you can see the display just fine. Now, in terms of thickness, it's definitely thicker than an Apple Watch Series 8, and it feels a little more girthy because of that added extra size for the digital crown, as well as that edging around that right button there. And then just for fun, here's the comparison to a Garmin Epic Series watch, just so you can kind of see how that sizes up. All of them actually have cellular built into it. So unlike the regular Apple Watches where you choose between, a non-cellular and a cellular model, all the models of the Apple Watch Ultra have cellular built in. Okay, and a quick note, if you're finding this video interesting and useful, now is a great time to whack that like button at the bottom. It really helps out this video and the channel quite a bit. Next, you'll notice a revamped Compass app. And that app is more than just the compass itself. It really can be kind of like the outdoors app, if you will. That includes the ability to do saving of waypoints. So you can save, for example, the parking lot that you might start in or the trailhead. And that allows you to get back to that point later on using the new TrackBack feature. TrackBack will basically automatically kick in when you're outdoors and hiking, and it'll track the route using GPS so you can navigate back to that point later on using the waypoints that you saved or just going back to the starting location. And in fact, with that, there's also a new revamped Compass watch face that you can see right here as well. You can tap on that to get in different modes as well as to access the different complications just like you would with existing Apple Watches. Now, if you do go off track, there's a new 80 decibel siren or alarm that allows you to go ahead and be heard if you're just off the trail. For example, you fall off the trail, get hurt, you can utilize that alarm to go ahead and notify people that are nearby.
Right here, we have the depth gauge and the water temperature sensor.
Okay.
The top hole. You know the digital crown? It's about 30% bigger than Series. That is a microphone.
Yep.
We've got the side button. There's the second microphone.
Yep.
Over here, you've got the third microphone. That's a speaker. That's a speaker. Together, they work to make the volume about 40% louder during phone calls. That one specifically is the siren.
Gotcha.
And then we have the awesome action button.
Next, a biggie is that Apple's added dual frequency or multi-band GPS to the Ultra. This allows for more accurate GPS tracking, especially in cities and in kind of rugged terrain around mountains and cliffs and things like that. We've seen Coros and Garmin add this over the past year to their watches, their higher-end watches, even their mid-range watches, so it's neat to see Apple add this here as well. Obviously, this is something I'm going to put to the test as part of my full in-depth review a little bit later on. Also, Apple says a track running mode is coming a little bit later on this year. That'll automatically snap to outdoor tracks, similar again what we've seen from other companies in this space, in that endurance running space. And it basically ensures there's more accurate GPS tracks when you're on the track and that your splits match exactly up to the lines on the track itself. Now, one area that's entirely new to Apple is using this as a dive watch. The traditionally area that most watch companies tend to shy away from a safety standpoint, but in this case, Apple has certified the device up to 100 meters of water depth resistance, which is more than enough for most scuba operations, and they've created a new dive app built into the watch itself. And I'm a scuba diver myself, so I do a fair bit of diving, but they've partnered with a third-party company for a scuba diving app there that has way more capabilities. It doesn't sound like it has some of the multi-gas capabilities and things like that you might expect, but still, it's got all the baseline for recreational diving. Next, there's a couple of speaker changes and microphone changes. First off, they've increased the number of speakers and the loudness of the speakers. And then second, they've added an additional microphone. So existing Apple Watches have 2 microphones versus the Ultra has 3. And the reason that matters is by having 3 microphones, you can go ahead and do noise cancellation in windy environments. That's the same technology used in most action cameras. Like if you had a GoPro, for example, it actually has 3 microphones on it, and they can cancel out the noise sound to get the best possible audio quality. Next, in line with the Apple Watch Series 8, they've added temperature tracking to this. That's primarily used for female health, tracking in particular ovulation cycles. That'll historically tell you what your ovulation date was. It's not looking forward yet. That's something that you see, for example, from Whoop and Aura and others, but it is going ahead and tracking your ovulation cycles from a historical standpoint. Also added to the Apple Watch Series 8 is vehicular crash detection. This watch already has, of course, sport crash detection if you crash your bike, but now this will also go ahead and alert emergency services if you do get into some sort of vehicle crash. Last but not least are the bands. There are 3 different bands to choose from. You've got this method here, this one that basically hooks on back onto itself. You've got one that's for diving here. This one is kind of a more of a silicone feel. It's again designed to go over wetsuits. And then finally you have a trail edition here, very similar to what you see in a lot of trail running watches. Having tried all these a few times now, I'd say the trail is probably my favorite, followed by the ocean one. I'm not a huge fan of this particular strap. It's nice once it's on your wrist, but it's honestly a pretty big pain in the butt to get on and off your wrist every single time. Maybe it's something to get used to over a longer period of time, but for myself, I've ordered the trail edition is the one I'm gonna go with. Speaking of ordering, the price is $799 US or 999 euros, and it's available on September 23rd. Now, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, then definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you can stay tuned for the full in-depth review of not just these watches, but also the Apple Watch Series 8 and the Apple Watch SE. With that, thanks for watching.